What's going on, everybody? Here with another video like always. uh, so this training session is a pulling session, and there was a bit of a irritation. I don't know what to call it, but it seemed like some type of soreness in my right arm, specifically like my hand where like my thumb and my pointer finger was, and I felt it a bit in my forearm. So my grip was kind of weak, so I had to use a lifting strap. And the lifting strap did help a lot when doing the pull-ups. It made it feel more comfortable. Of course, there was still kind of like a bit of like pain, but it wasn't as strenuous as it was without the lifting straps. And this here, right here, what I'm gonna do with the rings, this is a new movement, or at least a movement I haven't showcased or shown on the channel, and it's called the Y raise. So it's kind of similar to a lateral raise, and it hits your, of course, your lateral or side delts. And you kind of want to move in the same range of motion as if you're gonna do a lateral raise. If you ever did something like Lou raises, where you bring your the dumbbells all the way over your head, it's kind of similar to that, since I'm getting my hands over my head at the end range of the motion. This definitely did get my side delts. It definitely got like my upper back and my traps. It felt like a upright row almost. More comparable to that than a lateral raise. With the hand cramping, I'm not entirely sure where it came from, or what it could have came from. I did kind of wake up with my hand feeling like achy. I'm not sure if it's maybe from some of the punching bag drills that I did yesterday, and maybe that kind of affected my hand or something like that. But it kind of sucked because at first I thought maybe like I wouldn't be able to work out. And it's crazy that this happened on a pulling session, because my grip in my right hand was weaker. So I was, thinking like, oh man, and am I not gonna be able to work out? What am I gonna be able to do? But then I was like, okay, wait, I think I can use the lifting straps to help. And it was a big help. And one thing about the pain was that as I was training, by the time I was done with all of my sets of the pull-ups and the Y raises, my hand started to feel better. Even now, as I'm kind of like massaging it a little bit, it doesn't feel as bad as it did this morning. I'm not sure if maybe I slept on it wrong or something like that, but hopefully before I go to work today, it doesn't give me any types of problems or issues, because that would suck, and then I wouldn't be able to work, whatsoever, because my hand can't grip or be in a certain position. But and one thing about it is that with my hand being the way it was, it made my grip just in general for all of the exercises in both hands a lot more challenging. I'm not sure if that's just because that's just maybe the nature of pulling sessions, where you're just gonna use your grip a lot. So that could be the case, but I did find that my grip was working a lot harder than my usual sessions when it came to all of my pulling sessions before that. I'm also going to be changing up my program here. I'm going to be following, well, at first I was following like a upper lower type of program, or upper arms lower program. And then I switched to a pull push program, or well, push pull legs program. And now I'm going to be trying the push pull arms legs program, right? So on my pushing and pulling movements, I'm of course going to be like working, like let's say on my pushing days, I'm going to be working more of my chest and my shoulders. And then on my pulling days, I'm going to be working, well, my back and my shoulders, right? Because, there's a lot of shoulder movements that are more pulling, and then there's a lot of shoulder movements that are more pushing. So I have those separated. And then on my arm days, I can focus purely on my arms. And so taking away like, any tricep or bicep work from the pushing and pulling days, I can now focus on other things, like maybe I can train my core, I can do more shoulder work, stuff like that. So, and I've tried this program before. I don't think I stuck to it for too long, because maybe something happened. I can't remember why, but I did do that program, and it did pretty well, because I was able to do a lot more. I had a lot more freedom in a way on my pushing and pulling days, since my arm days were solely dedicated to just like, my biceps and triceps and forearms. And I don't just want to try this program and then throw it in the wind like 3 weeks later. I want to try this for about 3 months. I know the longest one is the upper lower, or upper arms lower. That's probably the one that I stuck to for the longest. But that's like, that's just like the basic regular one. Anybody can start off with that. I would probably recommend that type of training split to start off with. And then maybe when you become more experienced, you can try and get into like push pull legs and just other splits in general. But with the upper lower arms, or upper arms lower, I think that's called like a gentleman split. It was very effective, of course, seeing it as the way I look. But again, on my upper days, again, it was just like there wasn't a lot, not a lot, but I had to do a lot. I had to do a lot more on my upper sessions, and it would just take me a lot longer. I'd be spending more energy. And so, compared to like my lower body days or my arm days, it wasn't so much being put into, those other sessions compared to my upper body sessions. So it's like having the push and the pulling movement separated and on separate days. And it kind of allows me to conserve, time and energy more, and just to kind of be able to train, almost every day or close to every day, but having less volume within each workout, right? So therefore, again, I can train daily, and I feel like if I separate things even more by training my arms on a day by themselves, then I feel like that should allow me to try and conserve more energy just from day to day with these workouts here. I also kind of want to make things a bit more clear when it comes to, I say, this channel, or at least what I'm doing or how I'm training. So the only movement that I do with weight is the squat. So I do barbell squats, and everything else is body weight, right? Even like training my hamstrings and my lower back and my glutes. Well, I mean, I get my glutes during squats, but let's say I'm doing, hip, not hip thrust, but back extensions, that's my glutes, whatever, right? Everything else is body weight. So I want to, in a way, kind of show the masses, show the people that it is possible to build a physique with just body weight movements. And it's something that's been done in the past, right? Like, a lot of, let's say, old school bodybuilders, like way back whenever, before steroids were even invented, they just had a lot of bodyweight movements to work with. And there's of course a lot of these like calisthenics beasts who like have really impressive physiques just from doing calisthenics. And I want to kind of prove to myself, and maybe prove to an audience, a growing audience of people to this channel, that you can do just fine with just your body weight and with really limited equipment. Because I use the same couple of equipment every time I train. I'm always using rings, I'm always using a pull-up bar, I'm always using like parallettes, the ground. I'm using a bar for squatting. And you don't even need to get like a barbell and weights for squats. You can find a lot of other ways to work your legs a lot more, I'd say, a lot more differently with calisthenics. I personally just like squatting with the barbell, so that's why I do it. Like, I love that movement. I'm very passionate about that movement. But everything else, even when it comes to training my arms, my shoulders, right, traps, stuff like that, I'm even doing like just body weight movements. And it's a way for me to become creative, and it shows people like, hey, there's tons of exercises out there that you can access with limited equipment to train. So you don't need to try and, let's say, invest in like some weight plates. I mean, who's the one to talk, right? There's literally weight plates in the video right now. But that was before. That was when I was like really, really lifting a lot more weights than I was doing calisthenics. But in general, again, like, you can get them if you want, but it's just trying to show you guys like, hey, you don't really need to get that stuff, because through the way I work out, I don't use that stuff a lot. I only use it for one movement, and that's a movement that I just really like to do in general. So that's where I kind of make a compromise here. But everything else, I'm doing pull-ups, I'm doing L-set pull-ups, right? I'm doing like, chest to bar pull-ups. I'm doing rows, inverted rows, bodyweight rows. I'm doing pelican curls. Like, dude, there's so many things out there, and you don't just have to, use weights. Now, so weights are easier to understand. I get that, right? Progressing with weights is very simple because all you have to do is just add more weight. But with calisthenics, you do have to be a bit more creative, and I feel like that's where it has its benefit because you're just being more creative. I feel like you're a bit more involved in that, but right, because since you're mastering your own body, you're being more, you're evolving more to use your body in different ways to target different muscle groups and whatnot. But that's all I gotta say. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.